Mother Nature puts on quite a show in the Great Plains, and there's no comparison in the world to chasing tornadoes here. 75% of all tornadoes in the world occur in the U.S. in the Great Plains. It's also where storm chasers convene to get a front row seat to all the action.
This amazing subculture of these chasers, they all have their own language, they all know each other, they all gather at the same spots. And so you kind of get into this community of really passionate people.
I love it. I can't stop. You get frustrated. I want to part of me wants to just go home right now. And part of me is like, hey, the clouds are looking really good out here. This is actually going to probably go up, so we're going to keep going.
That's because storm chasing is more like a scavenger hunt.
It's hurry up and wait. Sometimes we'll go to a parking lot and sit for 2 hours, then we'll rush into the car, drive 30 miles north, sit in the car for another hour, and then drive back to where we started.
This is Seth Price, a meteorologist. He's one of 3 meteorologists I teamed up with for the trip. Combined, they've been chasing for 20 years. Seth drove the storm chase vehicle, which is an old cop car. Inside, you can find maps and a ham radio, which is very important in chasing.
A lot of places we don't have cell phone signal, and especially out here in the plains. So having the amateur radio link into the National Weather Service and into other amateur radio operators that might have a phone is really a good thing.
Another crew we teamed up with throughout the trip is the Virginia Tech Storm Chasers, who also have chase vehicles as well.
Yeah, and you also have Road Atlas, and this is important because you guys don't always have the ability to have cell service coverage, right?
Yeah, in between cities in Kansas, sometimes there's big data holes. Even in Texas, I think Verizon doesn't get any service down there, so we really rely heavily on road maps and kind of just observations as well.
Each day, the meteorologists start by reading the latest weather updates from the Storm Prediction Center and the National Weather Service, study the radar, talk about potential threats, and then forecast the day ahead.
So, this is pointing out some decent storm coverage.
You need to look 2 or 3 days out to kind of keep an eye on what options, what decisions you have to make about today. Because especially out here, repositioning is a big deal. I mean, you guys are starting to get a feel for how big the plains are.
He's right. The plains are huge and storm chasers drive a lot. In 5 days, we drove 2,200 miles through 7 states. I landed in Omaha, Nebraska, and drove through central Kansas, the panhandles of Oklahoma and Texas, into central New Mexico, northbound through eastern Colorado, the southeast corner of Wyoming, the northwest portion of Nebraska, and then back into Colorado.
You don't just go to Oklahoma and see the tornadoes there in a cage like you do tigers at the zoo. It's more like a safari where you go out to where they are, and maybe you see something, maybe you don't.
It's true that you don't really know how tornadoes start. That's kind of the fascination of chasing them, correct?
Yeah, and there's been plenty of times where we'll be on a really, really good-looking storm and it doesn't produce, and then other times we'll be on some ragged-looking storm that looks like it's going to fall apart, and we'll get a tornado out of it.
And that's part of why these meteorologists and weather enthusiasts storm chase. Sure, it's the thrill, but it's also about watching your forecasts come together, sometimes reporting back to the National Weather Service. As for the timing and the location, the month of May in the Great Plains is considered peak tornado season, so storms explode throughout the day.
The only good radar for us will be the one that's out of Clovis. The Albuquerque radar looks directly into the Sandia Mountains, and so you can't see anything east of them.
As meteorologists keep their eyes peeled to the radar and to the weather forecast discussions throughout the drive, they're also figuring out just how long it'll take to intercept the storm at a safe distance away with a planned escape route in case the storm moves too fast or takes an unexpected turn.
Okay, so we're near Corona, New Mexico, and our meteorologists are starting to see some formation of they think could be a funnel in the far distance.
Our crew successfully and safely intercepted this storm, located more than 100 miles south of Santa Fe.
We've seen what may have been a few funnel clouds out of the storm already, so it's really starting to ramp up. There is some green and teal in the storm, indicating that it likely has some very large hail, so we don't want to play with this. We don't want to get too close.
But then the storm got severe, and this trucker pulled over, asking us for help.
I could have swore I saw something moving over there. I could have swore.
This happens a lot out here. The meteorologists say they're glad to help direct passerbys with directions to stay away from the approaching storm. After all, saving lives is what meteorologists do. Once the storm passed, we left and then hit a patch of hail where the storm crossed over the road.
Unbelievable.
But for as exhilarating as it is to chase a developing storm and watch its structure form in front of you, there's also the reality that these monsters claim lives and destroy towns. We stopped in Greensburg, Kansas, where Dave Carroll, an instructor of meteorology at Virginia Tech, gave us a sobering tour.
Just to see the slabs and sidewalks that move up to nothing anymore just really tells you the drama that unfolded that night.
It was May 4th, 2007, when an EF5 tornado with estimated wind speeds of 205 miles an hour killed 13 people and destroyed 95% of the town.
It was a nighttime tornado. It hit just after dark. Some residents actually had time to leave town, and that's what they did. They left town and came back to nothing.
We continued chasing up until our last day, which is when we witnessed the most amazing sunset over McConaughey Lake in Nebraska, with a storm brewing in the distance.
And we are done. We are done chasing. That's a wrap. So I hope you enjoyed the journey as much as I like to bring it to you. Okay, so back here in this area, we've also experienced tornadoes.
Yeah.
In May, Connecticut got hit with 4 earlier this month in Queens. Now, how to stay safe, very important. Get to the lowest floor of a sturdy building or in an interior room. Wear a helmet and put on your shoes. Now, if you're in your car, the best advice over the years, pull over, get out, and find a ditch to lie in. However, recent research says to stay in your car and cover your head and neck. Leave the car running because if it gets hit by debris, the airbags will deploy and you'll have a cushion. Now, do not go under an overpass.
Right.
The winds can actually funnel under and get even stronger.
So when do you when do you decide to call off the chase?
Okay, so the meteorologists are watching the radar, so they don't get too close. You don't want to get, when there's hail, you want to get out of there. They make sure that they're a safe distance, like 20, 25 miles away. And it's fascinating watching them. And they actually have tours out in the Midwest.
Right.
Really?
And after Twister, which I've actually never seen that movie. I can't believe it.
I've never seen it all the way through.
When Twister came out, there was just this barrage of storm chasers, rookies and actually experienced storm chasers. But they have tours out there now, so you can go with trained professionals. But you have to do your research because not everybody who storm chases really knows what they're doing.
Right, you don't want to go with a startup charade of a unit.
No.
Before we have to go, were you scared at any point?
You know what? It's a rush, right? So in news, it's a rush, and weather is kind of a rush the same way. And it's almost like in news we talk about the verdict, the hurry up and wait till the verdict comes down, and that's how Mother Nature is. And it was a rush to know that you see this red forming in the radar and the purple, which is very bad. And you're thinking, oh my gosh. And they're like, all right, we're going. Severe is going to happen in 2 hours. We have an hour and a half to get there. We have to get in place, in position ahead of it. So when it comes, we can see and stay ahead of it. It's incredible.
It really is like waiting for a verdict.
And imagine if you have to go to the bathroom.
You're holding it a lot. And gas station meals.
All right.
Well, that was fascinating stuff.
Yeah.
We've seen that in
Amazing
process
work.
on the Instagram. We saw all the state line photos. Very well done. Thank you, Raegan.